Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman Heck, thanks for joining us. You heard Jim Sciutto's reporting just a few moments ago on Rinat Akhmetshin. It's a new name that's developed and emerged in all of this. What does it tell you about this meeting that the president's son disclosed earlier this week?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I think we can turn the page on whether or not there was collusion. Prima facie, self-evidently, there was collusion. But I'll say this, Jim. Anybody who thinks that this was the last revelation in this entire sordid affair, well, about all I can say is they're probably still leaving the landing lights on for Amelia Earhart. We're going to get more.
And when you say that this is collusion, do you believe a crime was committed? Do you believe crimes were committed?
So that would depend on whether or not there was a quid pro quo, and that is not yet readily apparent.
And what do you think the Russians were hoping for out of this meeting? Clearly, if you look at the Associated Press reporting of this meeting, the Russian attorney is saying that she saw something what appeared to be documents being turned over to people with the Trump campaign during this meeting. We don't know what happened to that folder, but that is a very interesting detail in that report on all of this.
I think the story of the last 6 months, Jim, is we're going to find out. Because if you look back, if you fast rewind to January and what we thought we knew, it is about on an every week basis that some new information comes out, and it keeps moving forward and forward and forward. And this week's revelations are yet the latest example. But again, there will be more.
And why do you suppose the story keeps changing?
On the part of the White House?
Yeah, why do you think that is?
So that's a question that you would better be put to them. Obviously, they feel as though they have something to hide or they're denying reality. But I tell you, Jim, the other question I hope that you will pose to them, should you ever get another chance to do that in a White House briefing, is whether or not the president has issued a prospective blanket pardon to anyone and everyone involved in any and all activities associated with this. Because, Jim, the federal law does not require that he reveal that. That could be privately done, and he could have already done it, and we wouldn't know. And I certainly hope somebody asks him at some point.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Congressman. Not only did we reach out to your Republican colleagues there in the House, we reached out to a number of administration officials today to see if they would come on, and none of those invitations were accepted. Should Jared Kushner's security clearance be suspended, in your view? That has been something that many of your colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle have been talking about today. There have been some tweets on all of this. It's been put out on social media as well. Where are you on that?
Not only do I think his security credentials should be suspended, I frankly don't think he should have ever had one.
Do you think he should be serving in the White House? Or you're saying that you're saying that Jared Kushner should essentially move back to New York at this point?
I think the White House might be better served by that, but I also hold out no hope whatsoever that that's what's going to happen.
And you heard some of the testimony of former top Trump campaign advisor Michael Caputo. He came out to the cameras within the last half hour or so. His lawyer described it as something of a fishing expedition by the time it was all over. What was your sense of what you heard today?
Well, I actually was in that question and answer period, Jim, for nearly 3 hours. And I will tell you, that's probably the most fascinating 3 hours of time I've spent in my nearly 5 years in the United States House of Representatives. But I'm not going to comment on the content of that exchange, because the truth of the matter is that could conceivably compromise this investigation. And if there's anything I think we can conclude about this entire matter, it is that at the end of it, the American public needs to have confidence that it was conducted with integrity. So I'm not going to comment.
And you can't say why it was so interesting. You just said it was some of the most interesting testimony you've ever heard. That suggests that there was much more to be heard in that meeting with Michael Caputo than he was letting on afterwards, because he was essentially saying that, listen, there were no contacts, nothing's going on here, was essentially what he said after that whole thing was over.
Well, my word was fascinating, not interesting.
Or fascinating, okay.
Jim, you may be inferring it, but I'm not implying it.
All right. And let me ask you this, because another thing that Michael Caputo said was he went right after your colleague, Congresswoman Jackie Speier, essentially saying that she improperly went after his wife. Did any of this come up? I guess you can't really say whether it came up in the meeting, but are you defending the actions of your colleague there, Congresswoman Speier? Was she conducting herself in a proper way when she talked about this?
I'm not going to make any comment that in any way implies directly or indirectly any of the content matter between our question and answer period session today.
And I believe that Congresswoman Speier referred to Michael Caputo's wife is Putin's image consultant, something along those lines. Do you think that was over the line?
Again, Jim, I'm not going to make any comment that might reflect upon what it is that we actually heard Mr. Caputo say today. Keep in mind that there are lots of these interviews lined up, and we're going to learn something during each and every one, and this is the nature of a painstaking investigation. You build them brick by brick by brick and let the facts lead you wherever they will.
And why was Roger Stone's testimony delayed? He's a colorful figure. I would think you would want to talk to him.
I think we should talk to Roger Stone, but then again, there are lots of people that I think we should talk to, and several of them are already scheduled to be spoken with.
But why was it delayed? Do we know why it was delayed?
I do not know why it was delayed.
And what is your sense now that the leadership there on the committee has changed? Do you feel there was that whole controversy with Devin Nunes earlier in the year? Do you feel that this investigation is proceeding the way you would like it to be proceeding, or are there still some hurdles and problems and partisan wrangling that's going on behind the scenes? What's your sense of that?
Well, of course there is, but I think we're largely back on track and we're making progress, and I like to keep it in context. There is our effort underway, and again, we've issued requests for documents, we've begun these interviews, and there are lots yet to come. The Senate has done the same thing, and of course, former Director Mueller is over there at the FBI having staffed up with what people have described as A-grade investigators, and they're undertaking their investigation as well. I am confident that the truth will out, Jim.
All right, Congressman Heck, stand by. Speaking of the truth, we're getting more information about the Russia investigation, the struggle to get answers. We'll talk about that after a quick break.